One moment. My session looks like it's going to crash. I'll be right back.
Okay. I'll put the agenda up. Anyways. Okay. And thanks for everybody joining today from the community, as well as maintainers that are here. Paul, do you want to, maybe we start with you?
Sure.
Okay. So we have a few things on the agenda today, but let's start with Paul, commit message style.
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring this up as a sort of discussion. If we want to enforce some stricter styles for commit messages, so right now we have not a lot of restrictions, like you need to have the DCO in there and you need to have like the title. I think there's some limit there, but other than that you can pretty much do whatever you want, and we don't really care that much as long as the content is reasonable. So I was mainly wondering one thing. The first thing is generally commit messages are 72 characters per line, or should be. So they are somewhat reasonable to read in the terminal. And that's, some people do that, well, many people do that kind of thing. Some don't. So it's, if you scroll, or I tend to scroll through the Git logs quite extensively. So I notice sometimes if some lines go until wherever. So I'm just wondering if other people care about these kinds of things or not.
So what are you fishing for, Paul, in terms of a change? Are you looking for enforcement of a certain style, or that reviewers be more enforcing?
Well, how, I don't care, but let's start with a proposal of limiting like to 72 chars maybe. Or I mean, that's really the problem. I mean, there are good reasons not to follow it, like if you paste a long link or you paste some error output or some terminal stuff. But like text-wise, I think that's the most readable, or most consistent stuff. But anyway, like it's like a personal thing. I mostly care if want to know if other people care, and then we can sort of maybe agree on a common style or not, if it's important to us. But if nobody else cares, then I'm fine not caring either. So
we have sort of a small group here today, but I would say it's worth trying to come up with something that is a good proposal and seeing if we can get it to stick. If we can get even the primary maintainers to follow the rules, then, or follow the preference, then it should clean that up any which ways. Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. We can start there and then think about enforcing it for more people or not. Yeah.
You guys see problems with this when I use Git on other platforms like Windows and Mac. It gets kind of goofy.
Like it puts too much, Brent?
Well, I've seen stuff where it doesn't wrap
Oh, okay.
and just does it on one massive line or the other way around. Like Paul says, though, if you put a link in there that's long, you kind of get into problems as well.
All right. So would this be a change to the contribution guide?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean,
It probably-
if
ahead.
we agree on the style, like, I mean, I'm just wondering if people have preferences or not regarding that. Then we can wonder what we would like or don't like.
Would you also then propose that it be checked sort of like a DCO check?
I mean, things that can be checked should be checked, I guess. There might be needs for exceptions and the like, but
Sure.
I mean, the biggest thing that we try to enforce this right now, sort of as well, like, is the like properly including like the fixes lines with the bug links and so on. That's the most important part to me. I already enforced it if I review stuff, but it's I wouldn't see how you could check for stuff like that, for example.
For me, I tend to review a lot of detail, but commit messages are something where I might check them in 30% of the cases, just because it's an extra step that is easy to forget. So I don't know how much I care. If a bot enforces it, sure, it will get done. As for whether it should be done, I mean, if you ask me, this should be HTML anyway, but we are not getting there, so I don't really have an opinion. I think restricting us to the width of a punch card really is not longer term the right direction, but also we are not moving in any direction, so I don't really care.
I mean,
I think
always I start caring if you do like git blame or whatever, and then you need to figure out what's going on, and I think that's the point where you really care what's in the commit message, but that's mostly about the content and not the style then. So yeah.
Yeah, is it that we have some tooling that doesn't do wrapping and hides the messages, or are people inserting 200 column ASCII charts in there that are broken?
Well, some people write the commit messages in a text editor that doesn't wrap at all, and then you have like one paragraph on one terminal line, which is not as readable as if you stick to some char limit.
I would say a proposal is still worth the time, Paul. Like kind of what you had in mind.
Yeah, I mean, right now only the char limit, I guess. But yeah.
I guess where I am is that I don't see the value, but if you want to automate it, I'm fine with it.
Mukesh?
Yeah, I think the Linux kernel, they enforce a character limit in their commit messages, so maybe you could just check how they do it. But they also don't do it on GitHub, so there's that.
Right. Okay. Anyone else? Okay.
I mean, as I said, like if nobody really cares, I'm fine not caring too. So that's a valid solution for me as well.
Maybe one thing to consider is that if people add new lines at paragraphs, everyone can set their own window to whatever they like. If there is a hard wrap at 72 lines, it matches a specific window size. But really, as I said, if we follow that thought further, we end up with HTML, and we don't want that. Anyway, I'm bike sharing. I'll stop.
Okay. Let's move on. Paul, I would say go. Let's try it. Let's see what it does. Because I think anything that kind of gives us a little bit more uniformity will be good, particularly on how and where things are going. Okay. I did hear from Lakesh. Would you like to review anything around the quantum crypto update?
Sure, unless you want to go first. Either way.
Pardon me?
Unless you want to go first, since your topic was first.
No, I think mine is probably of the least importance of this bunch. So let's get through the good stuff, and maybe provide a slightly wider aperture for folks in terms of describing what's going on here. And I think the core team gets it, but for the recording and otherwise.
Yeah.
Lokesh, are you sharing anything? Do you want me to stop sharing?
No, I don't have any slides. Yeah, I just added the links in the HackMD itself, so people could just visit those links. I guess the HackMD will be shared, right? All right. Anyway, so one of the things we need to do to ensure post-quantum crypto compliance for our tools is to add support for SHA-512 digests. Now, currently, we have a hard dependency on SHA-256, so we also need to ensure we don't break existing users. Now, with that in mind, I recently worked on investigation and proof of concept on checking if Podman, Builder, and Scopio could function with switching to SHA-512 image digest, and also on removing the hard dependency on SHA-256 and adding support for configurable digests, mainly the existing SHA-256 as well as SHA-512. Now, this is in the form of a sane default in storage.conf that the user can override via CLI. As of now, these changes are currently only on my personal forks. Nothing has been upstreamed yet. So for this quarter, I'll be working on upstreaming all these changes to our core libraries as well as Podman, Builder, and Scopio. Now, for testing purposes, I've been using a local deployment of Brandon Mitchell's personal registry implementation that's been updated to support SHA-512 digest. Link to the registry GitHub is in HackMD. And last time I checked, there was no support for SHA-512 digest on Quay, and if I remember correctly, on Docker library as well. So a local deployment of the earlier mentioned registry was my best option. And that's the update from my side for digest. Miloslav, do you want to share anything?
No, I think I haven't done anything on digest at all. I'm looking at the asymmetric crypto part, and yeah, that will take a week or so to finish, I think.
Okay. Any questions from the group? Follow-ups? Questions? That's group wide. Anyone here? Okay. Thank you, Lokesh. Hansa, you're up next.
Yeah, sure. I have prepared a presentation, so I will try. Yeah, I will need to start it. I'll probably present now. Is it working? Can you see the slides?
Yep.
Yes.
Great. So I prepared a presentation about idea how to speed up Podman on macOS and Windows. Yeah. So for a little bit background, Podman to run containers on macOS on Windows, we use Podman machine, which is virtual machine that manage where all containers lives. Yeah, and to interact with it, we use Podman remote, which communicate with machine and so on. And for some of commands, we need to transfer information to that machine to perform build or load. And also in feature, we will probably need to transfer artifacts to that machine to add them to artifact, and also to retrieve data from, for example, image in Tarball, so Podman safe. So for these commands, what we're doing, we are transferring data through the network, and I try to use a little bit of seeding. For Podman machine, your home directory is already mounted in a machine, so you can SSH to that machine and run commands from there with correct paths, which will use your home directory. So I will present only Podman load, which will demonstrate the idea, and then Podman build. But Podman build have a little bit some catches which I will explain later. So for Podman load, I try to load a tar file with TensorFlow image, which is about 7 gigabytes, and on graph with green line, it is networking. It is network traffic, and you can see there that there's a huge spike when we are copying data over the network to that machine. Same is visible for CPU graph, which is red line. There is pretty huge usage, about 50% or 60%. And then there is big drop when the untarring that file and loading it as image into the store. Yeah. For green and blue lines graph, it is disk IO load, and you can see there a big blue spike when already the image was the tar file was copied into image, and Podman started the loading that tar file as image. Yeah, and this can be easily speed up when we skip that part when we are transferring data to Podman machine. And I did Podman machine SSH and same command with just only with full path to that file, and we can see here significant improvement. It is 32 seconds before it was 52, and yeah, here are graphs, and I think some of them, for example, for networking, I think it is just background noise from my machine, and because we already skip all that traffic, and here I don't know if it's readable enough, but here is under the 0. megabytes per second, and before it was about 170 megabytes per second, which is much different speed. Yeah, and this is for Podman load. I have a little bit suspicion here because I run it multiple times before with just Podman load without SSHing there, and times was much higher. It was about 1 minute 30 seconds, but probably macOS did some adjustment and moved that file into faster memory. Yeah, so we will see something similar for build. Yeah, so for build, I did just simple application and put there some background or big context. I use the tar file for it. So for building application or into image, it depends. My biggest part of it, it's depend on the build context. It depends how the context is big. For this example, to show it where time is taken most, I've used pretty big file. I didn't find any other project which would build image and has big context. If it's, I think, about 40 megabytes, it is transfer on this machine will be pretty fast because we picked about 170 megabytes per second. So copying this context will be, well, usually didn't notice it, about 1 second, I would say. But to show that it could happen, you can have some application with big context, and you can make it smaller with container ignore files. So you can put there that your huge files which you don't use for building in that image and make it faster. So I again run Podman build, and we can all again see that CPU is and network is pretty in sync, that are used in beginning, and it is used most, and then after the copying of all context is done, it just do one big spike, which is I think finishing build of binary, and here is the something which I suspect macOS did some adjustment here in graph for disk IO. Here isn't any reading noticed because I think it was moved into random access memory and it was copied from there. So there is no IO for reading that huge tar file. Yeah, and for Podman build, it takes 34 seconds to build it because most of the time was copying that huge file which wasn't used. Yeah, but it is very important to say, if you have small build context, that time will be much shorter. And again, we can see here that it is about, in peak, it is about 20 megabytes per second in internal network on my system. So yeah, it is not that, it is pretty fast. Yeah, and when I use it with Podman machine SSH, it just shortened to 6 seconds. Yeah, and we can see here that there is just probably it is some background noise or just a spike when that SSH was happening. Yeah, and that's probably it. Just one thing in the end, I would like to improve this stuff in Podman, at least for loading and saving images, and when we start developing Podman artifacts to make in mind that this will be pretty important, and we have here that simplify stuff to simplify it. And I'm not sure if it makes sense for build, but probably I'm somewhere between. So I'm not sure, but there will be definitely some benefit for it. So that's it from me. Any questions?
Yeah, I think build is probably the command that benefits the most, because the client doesn't know what files are going to be accessed, and we copy everything. And if you build on Linux, it just, build accesses the files, as they are named in the container file, like on copy or whatever. So, like, by not copying everything, you solve the problem of you have this gigantic context directory. That's why it's for build probably you can make up an example with like gigantic files, especially if you do like many small files and stuff that are all tarred up, extracted in the VM and so on. You will definitely CA gains. For artifacts, I don't think it will matter that much because artifacts we don't copy, we stream directly. I'm not sure if there will be a huge I/O difference.
Yeah, artifacts isn't already implemented, so yeah, I just want to know this. And for builds, yeah, you are right, I think, but the container ignores file could help with this, but I don't know if it's used that much or it is just don't use README files or something like that when you use copy. Yeah, but yeah. Okay. Anyone else? So if there is any question, so probably next one can go.
Okay, the next one was me. And it's an open topic to talk about handling PRs and other work coming into the container tools repositories that are either helped with AI or produced through AI, and an open conversation about what people think we should be doing to handle this. It's going to more and more is going to happen. I did talk to the CNCF. It's up to us how to handle it. I do think it can't be pushed down on the maintainers because to know whether those things are an issue or not, and to be like worried about license and stuff like that. But let's have a discussion about it. Lokesh.
Yeah, my first concern is, do we have any reliable tool to detect if it's AI code? Because if some human submits a patch, whether it was humanly written or generated by AI, as long as we have their sign off.
Yeah, we have
I
their
would
sign off,
consider
right?
I would consider it human code.
That's I think the sign off is the most important thing, but that's Miloslav.
Yeah, do we have any specific legal restrictions or guidance in there? It's just sign off. Beyond that, I mean, if we can't tell, it doesn't matter. But as a reviewer, I would say that if I ask a question and it turns out that the submitter doesn't understand the code, that's pretty much a showstopper.
So I linked from the Linux Foundation some like guideline or guidance rather. I find point 2 quite interesting there because to me that's like an impossible condition where it says that the contributor should confirm they have permissions from third-party owners if such AI tool output would output some copyrighted material and it's up to the contributor to check that how are you going to check that, right? Like it's not possible, and even more so for the reviewer. So I find that really difficult to judge. One thing I would like to see is that at least people submitting code with AI help should disclose that right away. Because as Miroslav mentioned, it can be depending on what the change is. Like I always have to assume the person who wrote the code knows what they did, and if they don't, that's a problem.
I mean, that happens for humans as well. I think somebody finds an answer on Stack Overflow and copies it. they might not understand what the code does and not be able to have a discussion during a PR review. B, it might originally be copyrighted from whenever. And I think the old Unix lawsuit was about 100 lines of malloc or something. It can happen easily, you know.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Paul, I think it'd be nice if people said that they used it, but soon I think everybody is going to be using it slightly. So then what do you say? You know?
If you want my 2 cents, I think the DCO, pointing at the DCO is the key. The DCO is the spirit of the DCO is, this is my code I'm giving to this project under their terms or the terms that it points to. And it would be no different, as Milosov said, if they copied it off the web or if they went into their own product, took out code and gave it to us and they weren't supposed to. They're the ones that said they did it. My understanding is in these cases, if the project is notified that, look, you have some stuff in there that was copied out of here, or I think it was, then the project must respond and either revert the commit or alter it. That's my understanding of this flow. I saw some people shaking heads. Is that others? Laura, you were one of them.
Sorry, I was shaking my head at something else. But no, I agree with you. This is actually an active discussion in a lot of different projects right now. And that copy pasta situation of, hey, I copied this from Stack Overflow and I did this, or even just drive-by contributions that are like, I'm going to auto pep8 a whole bunch of Python code. Usually they're frowned on in most communities anyway. So on one way or the other, you have to understand how your code works. So that's where most communities seem to be landing, because most people don't have the time to go and use all these tools that the Linux Foundation is suggesting. It's very difficult to get all of those set up and running when you're a tiny community. So usually it's the, hey, follow the developer covenant that you agreed to, and don't submit something that you can't defend in a pull request review. So usually that's what most people are saying.
Now, one thing, Neil, one takeaway maybe to just double, triple, quadruple check every repo we deal with has DCO sign off. That might be worth our time to just go through them, because it's easy to forget little ones. And let's make sure that's on there.
It's enabled on the entire GitHub organization. So anything on containers should have that check. Whether that check is actually enforced via merge protection is a different story.
Yeah.
And if it's not enforced, I think we could enforce it via the GitHub settings, branch protection.
Okay. I mean, those are good things we should check. I'll talk to Matt about it.
Brent, just to highlight something, I think you hit on a point where if we are not sure, we should not be doing the analysis. Like if we say it must not be, you must disclose that this is AI generated, and then we'll make a judgment call. It's on us to make a copyright judgment call. If we say you must sign the DCO and be responsible for your code, we can say not our decision, not our responsibility.
Yeah. Anyone else have unresolved feelings about this topic that we should talk about?
I just want to say that when I say that a person should mention that, I don't mean that in the context of the DCO or copyright. I mean that in the context of I know what I'm going to talk to on that person. So it's more of a heads up than, for me at least. But yeah, as you're right, like there's no requirement that the person knows whatever they submitted. And we already have people submitting stuff they don't know. So
Yeah, I think this might change. Either AI will be suddenly become good enough that this is not a non-issue, or we might get a flood of badly motivated PRs, and we will need to work on weeding them out. I'm not worried so far, but this might change very quickly.
Addy?
Yeah, one thing like which how Neil mentioned that sooner or later everybody is going to be using some part of generated code. So I think like it is different in the segment that, for example, if somebody is writing a code and he or she uses auto completion feature which just auto completes a line or something like that, that can be different from generating like entire blocks of code or like even the entire feature. I don't know how these two categories can be differentiated, because auto completion and completing lines of code was happening before the AI as well, and after AI, I think it's gonna be becoming more and more common thing. So I don't know if that should be a disclosure agreement in the PR that my code is like AI generated or is it manually written. I think the line is going to become more and more blurry on that segment, that what part is AI generated, what part is human written. So maybe that part, I don't know if that makes sense to ask a contributor if your code is AI generated or manually written. It's just that if DCO is signed off, they're the responsible authors of the code. Doesn't matter if it's
That's where I think the best line is. At the, it's just if you contribute and you sign it, you're assuming responsibility that it's donated according to the right licenses. Laura, your hand was up.
I was just going to say that we don't really have any guidance just yet from the OSPO on this one, just so that folks know. But in general, I just say, again, don't worry about the disclosing it. You are probably going to start getting a flood of this as the projects get more popular. Right now, the Kubernetes project is getting the bulk of this right now, I think, from the CNCF world. But I'm noticing it starting to pop up in other various spots. So be ready for it. But again, yes, there's not really a ton of difference between it auto completes or it starts to fill in the whole thing for you. But again, if somebody's going through a pull request review and you're asking questions about the code and they can't answer it, that to me is the bigger problem, because they're not able to understand what their code does and why it's important that it was done the way it was done. Does it follow style guide? Does it follow all of those other things? Those are all the things that I look for if I'm looking at different pieces of code anyway. So it just means that there might need to be a bit more careful look at pull request reviews when thinking about, as more AI generated code comes in and as you start to get a lot of these floods of contributions, you're looking for the junk contributions. And right now we don't have the tools built just yet to help stem that tide. But there's a lot of groups working on that, just so that folks know.
Yep, I kind of agree with what you guys are saying. Like Adi mentioned a great point. Like the line is going to become blurrier and blurrier, and we cannot stop these contributions. But my question comes into the picture: like if it is AI generated and the contributor is not responding, what should we do with it? Should we take over the control and get it over the line, or should we just reject it? That's where my concern lies with this AI generated code.
I mean, if we want some feature in and we're assuming to take over responsibility of that PR, we're essentially owning that.
So Mohan, you're talking about somebody submits a PR and then it's a drive-by.
Yeah.
And they're gone.
Yeah.
We've actually talked about this topic numerous times and really never come to a how we're going to do that. Because if that sucker is signed off, now you have the same problem. You can't just take it necessarily. And say, okay, I'm going to submit it for them. You sort of now inherit that DCO, or I think, Paul, in some cases we've put their sign off there and then we put our sign off over the top of it, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that's how it's
as
supposed to
long
work.
as the sign off is there, you can use it. But if the sign off isn't there, then you shouldn't use it.
Yeah. And that activity at DevCon left us a ton of drive-by. Oh, I shouldn't say a ton. It left us drive-bys, including some from well-known people. So, we have that same decision. We've pinged them in there. Can you please come back? Can you just sign it off? It's good to go, that kind of stuff. But I don't think we have a solid answer because each one of them is going to be kind of different.
But the thing is, until now or before AI, it's the code could be bad, and we review it and ask for give some suggestions and review it. But with AI, as the code is becoming much more efficient, what should we do with them? Just merge?
I think you can't worry about it. Like, you got to make it. You review it like normal, and you won't be able to know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Paul.
I'm gonna give this 2 more minutes because we got another speaker, and we can come back to it if we have extra time.
Yeah, I think that like the takeover part, that's fair. Like, take it over if we want it, otherwise close it out or whatever. I'm more interested in the opposite. If somebody keeps sending like not good PRs, what you gonna do about that? Like,
Sorry, Paul.
No, I mean, like, if you realize halfway through your review you wasted 20 minutes of your time or 50 minutes of your time that this is garbage, then and this is like a repeated pattern, then I think that's a much bigger risk to my productivity and like the project's productivity than people submitting useful stuff.
I think that can happen now too, though, right?
Right. Exactly. The question is what you, as a project, what would we want to do? Like, what option do we even have? Like,
I think
adding a person, I don't know.
I think let's check our governance, but I think that we can do stuff if people are becoming a nuisance, right? So. And that would just be the same case. Somebody just flooded us with 500 PRs and they're all over the place. We would just have to say stop it and close them all and whatever, right? Like, we can't process that.
If it is a person who doesn't know how to write software, that's a bet. Do we teach them, or do we let them learn somewhere else? If it is a person who is not seriously in good faith and just wants to, I don't know, get credit, don't waste my time, close it. If it is unclear, we all have enough work to do. It can just go to the end of the line. And if somebody wants to actively maliciously spam us with a dozen of individuals accounts, I don't think that has ever happened to us before.
Okay, I'm gonna cut it there unless anyone has something they want to get in, or we can continue to talk about this in an upcoming Cabal or at the end here. But doesn't sound like it. So
I'll just write in that our current decision is to basically go along with Linux Foundation stuff and say it's all up to the contributor understanding what it's their contribution. right? And they have to be honest about it or not. But I
We
think,
oughta.
Yep.
I think the one takeaway is we ought to get somebody to write.
oh yeah, I wrote down other stuff too. Yeah.
In the contributing guide, though, that
Oh.
should be explicitly called out because a bit of a CYA, but yeah, when you make a contribution, this is the intent. Okay, Laura, you have the floor, and you likely need to introduce yourself.
Yeah, no, that's basically what this is. I just want to briefly introduce myself. My name's Laura Santa Maria. I am a new community architect here at Red Hat, but that means that I'm assigned to all of the container tools projects. So if you need anything from an open source perspective, community perspective, I've been in the CNCF world for many years, and I've been all over the place at large companies, small companies. I know a lot of people. So I'm just kind of here if you have questions, if you need help. I will be trying to show up to all of the community meetings for various projects in the container tools community. While I work at Red Hat, my focus is upstream. So I am here more for the community in general. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. But that's really, I just wanted to make sure you all knew I was here. Say hi so that you knew who I was. That's it.
Okay.
Pleasure to meet you.
Likewise, it's probably worth knowing that when you say that you work upstream mostly, but still work for Red Hat, that applies to probably 9/10 of this people here.
Yeah, I know.
Podman's a bit of an unusual project, and that very few of us work in the RHEL area, as a job. So
makes sense. I just want to let anybody know that if you want to talk about just specifically upstream, especially if you're not at Red Hat, feel free to come talk to me as well, because my focus is how do I help this community grow and thrive. So
great, because we are trying to work on that to be a very welcoming community and encourage new developers and all that sort of stuff. So I'm here to talk about governance and tell you how other projects do it and help you out with some of that. If you need me to help out kind of getting that governance structure together in the document, I can help there. When you're ready to get to incubating and graduation on the CNCF, I've done that too. So yeah, I'm here.
I think the one thing that could be helpful is for you to, if you wanted, to read our governance. The Podman governance leads the way for the rest of the projects that we mostly have our arms around. So if you read that one and wrote issues about things in there that you find maybe need improvement, then I think we would be happy to accept those and review those, or even if you wanted to do a pull request against them.
Sure, I can do that.
With DCO sign off.
Of course. Yeah, no, I've been a dev for a while, so I know what I'm doing. But I certainly can. I will go double check through and look through and see if there's anywhere I can help you all with that.
Awesome, because I think, like I said, everyone kind of reuses that one. So if it's if you see some things in there that could use some tightening up, we've been slowly doing that as well. It's been working though, I would say.
Yeah.
Overall, the team would agree that the governance has been working. Cool. Okay. I guess there is one more topic on the docket here, but I'm not really loving the fact that we're not all here to talk about it. So this came up, Neil, when you were asking some questions about repos that were not donated yet, and whether or not how we needed to treat those. And that was something I wanted the team to just, kick back and forth. I think we've very much gotten used to the idea of a governance document, but you can have a governance document outside the scope of CNCF. So I'm not sure there's any subtleties in there that we care about, but I wanted to open the topic.
I mean, the obvious answer is the Podman governance is way too complex for most minor side projects that are on containers. So it would probably need to be like a per repo decision or something like that. And yeah, I mean, in general, I agree. Some more guidelines on what each repro does, or at least who's responsible and stuff, would help the GitHub org.
Yeah, I think that we probably, like, we have, I think, 15 or something, right? So for the smaller ones, we probably could find a one size fits all for them, though. So I think let's explore one or two small ones, and then we can figure out how to handle it, because you definitely don't want two required LGTMs probably and things like that.
Yeah.
But there's, they'll all be unique that, only one or two people know anything about them.
That's right. We're always open to evaluating, Laura. So always. I think libHV is always a good example. It's a minor part of Podman machine, depending on how you look at it, and it's largely done and won't be improved unless we find bugs. So it's an interesting one of how much you want to put on that. And we would struggle to get 2 LGTMs on that for sure. So
I think one point is, like, I just looked at it. There are like 123 repositories, and like 3 repositories right now are like Builder, Scopio, Podman, are CNCF, right? Everything else isn't. And the majority of these repos aren't even maintained by people in this call. So I am not comfortable making any kind of decision without individual repository maintainers and that alike. So
That makes sense. That obviously the key maintainers of each repo have to say that it's okay. We would be PRing the governance anyways, right? Okay, I think Lokesh had one more idea of talking about something.
So yeah, I just put a link to the security.md in the Ramalama repo. And that points to the security and disclosure policy in Containers Common. And that says, if you want to report a vulnerability, report it to security@list.podman.io, which I don't think is a good idea for a project like Ramalama. And I think many other projects also point to the same document. So do we need to revisit the security policy per project?
probably.
Okay.
Let me add that to the priority thing, and we can get that work scheduled.
But it's not going to stop others from using whatever the new governance or the security, right?
No, I mean, in that case, we would need a separate policy for Ramalama or a separate email address or something.
Okay.
And likewise for other projects.
yeah, I tend to strongly agree with Lokesh, because frankly, it's not a good thing that we need to handle another project security triaging, because we are simply unqualified to do that. So
Okay. Are there other topics that folks want to cover in the last 4 minutes? I see a new face. Alex, welcome.
Thank you.
Did you have any questions that you would like to ask the team or anything?
No, I'm here because I started to follow the community. I raised one PR to fix one bug. I'm also from Red Hat. But like I'm trying to find more time to contribute to Podman so far. So for now, I'm only following and trying to get this PR merged. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. And people that have been here a fair amount, Jerry and Martin, welcome.
Hey all.
Is anything
Thank you.
Anything you folks want to bring up before we close, given that we actually have a couple of minutes at the end?
And Kevin too.
Okay. Let's see. Whoever started the recording, can you stop and we'll do as Tom did. Give everyone an opportunity to ask questions off the record here.
Yep, I will do that.